Hey, what's going on YouTube? So I'm going to bring you another video on the Buffalo Bills this week. And some of the key notes that I do like, or that I did see, is that in the draft, they did draft a running back, which they needed, and a corner. I also needed that as well. Their halfback hasn't been doing what I thought he was going to do, so that other running back would definitely come in handy. The other halfback, he only had about maybe 800 yards last season, and Allen had 700 yards his doggone self, the quarterback. So, in between those two, the quarterback and the halfback, Allen had 6 rushing touchdowns. The halfback had, I want to say, 8. Those numbers might be switched around, but I believe that's what it was. But let's get into what's actually happening this season. And, or let's say, for instance, let's get in a good number. I know I talked about Tennessee. Tennessee has a lot of work to do and have a lot of proving. They have to prove to me that they can actually go through the season with a good record before I can start betting on them. So that's my take on Tennessee last year. I know that video was a little choppy, and I don't know, that day I was busy with stuff, but hopefully this one should be better. So let's get into the numbers. As we can see, with the same old pattern as we've been seeing, weak teams, right? Really good teams versus weak teams. That's 40 points. They only scored 40 points and they shut Houston out. So you got that game. Also, you have the New Orleans Saints. During this time, Winston was out, so they only scored 37 on them. Or they only scored 31 on them, but the total only went up to 37. So we have that. Then you have the 2 games at the end of the season. Again, 45, 40 points against weak teams, and under 40 against weak teams, or under 45, should I say, against weak teams is actually a good number. So if you have a really good team versus a weak team and you looking for a total under 45, maybe good going into the season for this season. Also, we have division opponents, division rivals, division opponents. I'm looking at a 35-37 Miami Dolphins. I think Tua went out week 2. Don't quote me. But I know he was hurt. Week 8, definitely. Tua was not in there. Also, you had New York Jets, week 18. Week 18, they didn't go over. These 2 games against New York Jets and the New England Patriots went over. Also, they lost to the Patriots week 13. So, and these are the losses. Let's see. Pittsburgh, obviously, first game of the week. Pittsburgh's more of a defensive team. So, 39, I'm not too shocked that they didn't go over 40 or 45, should I say. No, I'm not shocked that they didn't go over 40 that game. And we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. Again, another weak team. They only scored 15 points total. And I'm not surprised they didn't go over 40 for that game, because the Jacksonville Jags, or not the, Jacksonville is a weak opponent. So now let's get into the numbers and let's figure out why the Bills lost. Now the Bills, they are the most put together team coming into the season as far as having the same pieces that they had from last year. Only difference, or I want to say there's a couple differences, but key difference is their center. Their center actually went to Denver. So that is something new heading into the season, but it shouldn't be a huge issue. Looking at week 1, they lost to Pittsburgh Steelers. At the end of week 2, they had a divisional opponent game. Week 6, they lost to Tennessee. Looking in week 7, that was actually a bye week, heading into the bye week. So they did come up with a 3-point loss. Then week 9, right? Jacksonville Jaguars. If you actually look at week 10, they have a divisional game against the New York Jets. So as we can see this trend, and as you can see, I have highlighted here the Indianapolis Colts. I'm trying to figure out why did they lose this game so bad, because this is the only anomaly in this in these numbers that we're looking at. And one of the reasons is because their center got hurt. And if you know anything about a center, it's actually hard getting a new snapper in sync with your quarterback snapping the ball. So when he went down, I think he went down week 10. Yeah, he went down week 10 against the New York Jets. He went down, and they had a new snapper in for week 11. And as you can see, just the center right there, the center, him going out is a huge difference in points. So just to go over the list we have so far, I'm just going to bring this up. Weak teams, we're going to look for the unders when you have really good teams versus weak teams. Look ahead games, we're going to take those into consideration, and we're going to look for, let's say, for instance, we have this Pittsburgh game. One of the reasons why they lost, in my opinion, is because they had a look ahead game towards the Miami Dolphins, a divisional opponent. And once you win all these games against your divisional opponents, you're in the playoffs. So that's pretty much the goal each season. So these regular season games, they matter, but not as much as these divisional opponent games. So with that being said, going down bye weeks, games before bye weeks, it's less probable that they are going to win those games. And this is the pattern that I've been seeing since I've been doing this. So a game before a bye week, you have a less probability. Now, is it probable that a really good team can beat a really bad team? Absolutely. But right before a bye week, that probability drops that much more. Just to keep that in mind. Injuries to key positions. So as we've seen with the Tennessee Titans, when AJ and Henry went down, it changed the dynamic of the team, which now they weren't putting up that many points in my last video, as you've seen. So also with this game right here, their center went out. That's a key position. You get in sync with your quarterback on a snap count. That's a key position. So you have your wide receiver, halfback, quarterback, snappers, or your center, should I say. Also, I would even consider left tackles, because in the past, I've seen a rookie left tackle get destroyed, and that's when Donovan McNabb had 6 sacks. He took 6 sacks in a game where they had a rookie, a left tackle, taking in there in the position where their veteran was hurt. So that's something to note as well. Also, going down the list, end of season after week 14, we have those games as well we have to look out for. And I would say cold weather, and I gear towards the under when it's cold out or less points, because when the ball hits your hands, it hurts. I'm not going to lie to you. But getting back into this, week 14, you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which they only lost by, 6. That is acceptable. That's a key number. The key numbers I look out for are two numbers, 3 and 7. So if I feel like the team can cover, I'm trying to get them at least under that 7 mark. So 6.5. So if I was to bet Buffalo, and I know Tampa is the better team than Buffalo just because Tom Brady has more experience than Allen, I'm definitely going to go with Tampa Bay, and I was going to try to get them at 7 if I was going to do or try to get them at 6.5 if I was going to do minus. Actually, get them at 5.5. Apologies, 5.5 if I was going to do the minus. And if I was going to bet on Buffalo, I'll get Buffalo at 6.5. Usually, I probably want to get Buffalo at 7.5. So you have that little margin. So it's probably like a 2-point difference. So just to say that again, I know hopefully I didn't confuse you. Buffalo, if I was to bet this game, and Buffalo was not the favorite, I would like Buffalo at plus 7.5. And then I would like Tampa Bay. If Tampa Bay was the favorite and they were negative points, I would like Tampa Bay at negative 5.5.5 if I feel like they can beat them by a touchdown. But with a game like that, I would definitely gear towards the points as far as a 3-point game. I would think this game will boil down to a 3-point game. So if, again, that same scenario, Tampa Bay was the favorite, I'd rather get Tampa Bay at 2.5, negative 2.5. If I feel like Tampa Bay is going to win, if Buffalo is going to win, I would get Buffalo at plus 3.5. So just to keep that note. So we're a perfect time where teasers come into play. Also, let's talk about the spread now. The spread. Actually, here, let me get back with you, and I'm going to have the numbers for the spread and the totals that I like. All right, I'm back with you. I had to change a number right here. So if you seen like a 60 something, that wasn't the right number. But I changed it. They beat them by 28 points. And looking at this team, looking at the numbers, I do like a negative 10 for the Bills. I knew that was going to happen. But a negative 10 for the Bills and a 52 points for the total. So let me do it like this. Oh, great. I'll fix it in a second. But as you can see here, I'm just going to do something like this. Hold on. All right, here we go. I should have had all that done. But, and another thing. Let's go back over here. I think I forgot to talk about this New England game where they were only put up 24 points, total points. So, obviously, you have week 11, then you have week 12. Week 12 is over here. They only scored 37. Week 13, now we get to New England. They only put up 24. And then we go to week 14 in overtime. They are over 60 points with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, with all that said, I do like a negative 10 for the Bills going into this season. Now, until something happens significantly, like say for instance, if there's a major injury or something, I'm going to go with this number in the season because as we can see, they've been dominating teams, but they did have a couple of easy ones. Houston, Carolina, Atlanta, those are easy games. And those are just easy games. So I'm going to have a 10/7 or 6.5 points at most. And the 6.5 is kind of like my limit when I'm looking at spreads. Also, just keep in mind, injuries. And here's another thing. So with the Bills, we're going to watch out for look-ahead games. So if they have a divisional opponent, so obviously the game before, we're not going to bet too heavy on that game. I mean, we might even look at the other way for the points because obviously we see this pattern going on. And bye week, so look ahead game, week 7. Actually, no, week 7 was the bye. Look ahead game, we have a bye. And then we have week 9. Then week 10 was a look ahead game with another divisional opponent. Then we have the Indianapolis Colts. And they just lost their center right there, and they just been down. And then now you have the Tampa Bay. And, I mean, Tampa Bay was pretty much, one of the teams that most of us thought was probably going to the playoffs and going to the finals. So them losing by 6 isn't bad. This team is still put together, same coaches, same quarterback, same wide receivers. They improved in the draft with rookies. So I see this team definitely repeating the same season, putting up the same amount of points, especially if they get a favorable schedule like they did last year. So just some things to keep in mind. I do like this 10/6.5 points going into the season, and I do like the 52 as long as they're not facing teams with look-ahead games. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys watching. Like, subscribe, share. Also working on NCAA basketball. As you can see with the information I provided, there's a couple of things we have to do to go into this next NCAA basketball season to make sure that we'll be on top. But I'm still working on that as well. But like, subscribe, share. Those are my thoughts. These are the numbers. I'm going to put them up here. And as you guys notice, I do have Tennessee in the red because they had a major change in their number 1 wide receiver. and we don't know what kind of team. They're a completely different team now. So with all that in mind, like, subscribe, share. Appreciate you guys watching, and most importantly, bet wisely.